Cowboys Nation, this changes everything. Major moves just went down in Dallas, and I'm telling you right now, if you've been waiting for the front office to wake up, they just did. Contract restructures, trade rumors swirling around one of the most valuable weapons in the entire NFL, a potential edge rusher that could transform this defense, and a cornerback situation that has social media absolutely buzzing. You need to hear all of this right now because the offseason just got real in Big D. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we are going live the second free agency opens, and you do not want to miss a single move. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with the news that just dropped and has Cowboys fans breathing a massive sigh of relief. For weeks, everyone has been wondering how in the world this team was going to get under the salary cap. We've been hearing about the cap crunch, the lack of flexibility, all the doom and gloom about how Dallas couldn't possibly make moves in free agency. Well, guess what? Adam Schefter just made it official. The Dallas Cowboys have restructured the contracts of Dak Prescott and Tyler Smith, and then almost immediately after that news broke, Todd Archer followed up confirming that the team has also restructured CeeDee Lamb's deal. That's 3 massive contracts getting reworked in rapid succession, and suddenly, just like that, the Dallas Cowboys are officially under the salary cap. Now let me explain why this matters so much more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. When you restructure a contract, you're essentially converting base salary into signing bonus money that gets spread out over the remaining years of the deal. It creates immediate cap relief, which gives the front office actual flexibility to go out and make moves. We're talking about roughly $10 million in cap space now available after these restructures, with potentially more on the way. The Cowboys saved somewhere in the ballpark of $6 to $7 million just from the Dak and Tyler Smith moves alone, and adding CeeDee into that equation pushes them even further into the green. But here's the thing that should really excite you. They are not done. Not even close. Sources are indicating that more moves are coming, particularly along the defensive line. We're hearing that a Kenny Clark deal is being worked on. We're hearing that DeMarcus Lawrence could see his contract reworked, and Osa Odigizua is absolutely primed for a restructure as well. This front office is methodically creating as much cap space as possible, and that tells you one thing loud and clear. They are planning to be aggressive in free agency. After years of watching this team sit on their hands while other contenders loaded up, it finally feels like Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are ready to make some noise. Cowboys Nation has been starving for this kind of activity, and it looks like the buffet is about to open. Now let's get to the story that has the entire NFL world talking, and honestly, this one might be a little controversial depending on where you stand. We need to talk about Brandon Aubrey and the absolute bombshell that Adam Schefter dropped on his podcast. Now, before I get into this, I want to be crystal clear about something. This was Schefter's opinion, not a report. Those are two very different things, and sometimes that line gets blurred on social media. But what Schefter said is significant because he's one of the most connected voices in football, and when he speaks, teams listen. Here's what Schefter said. He called Brandon Aubrey one of the great weapons in the game, and then he took it a step further. He said if he were running a team and Aubrey was sitting there with a second-round tender, he would seriously consider going after him. He would be willing to give up that second-round pick to acquire Brandon Aubrey. Let that sink in for a moment. Adam Schefter, one of the most respected NFL insiders on the planet, just publicly suggested that Brandon Aubrey is worth a second-round draft pick. And honestly, he might be right. Let's talk about what Brandon Aubrey actually brings to this team. This man has completely redefined what it means to be a kicker in the NFL. We're not talking about a guy who just trots out there for extra points and maybe hits a 40-yarder when the wind is calm. Brandon Aubrey is a weapon. He's an alien. He's doing things we've never seen before from the kicker position. You get past midfield against the Cowboys and you're already in field goal range. That's not hyperbole. That's reality. Aubrey has the leg strength and the accuracy to hit from distances that would make most kickers laugh nervously and shake their heads. He's automatic from 50+. He's changed the entire calculus of how opposing defenses have to approach the Dallas Cowboys. Schefter made the point that Aubrey makes a difference in every single game he plays, and that's absolutely true. Think about all the times last year when the Cowboys' offense stalled out, but Aubrey still put points on the board from distances that would have been punts for any other team. Think about the field position advantage, the psychological edge of knowing your kicker can bail you out from almost anywhere. There is no kicker in the NFL right now who does what Brandon Aubrey does. He is in a category by himself. But here's where it gets complicated, and this is where Cowboys fans are going to have an honest conversation with themselves. Aubrey is going to receive the second-round tender, which means any team that wants to sign him would have to give up a second-round pick as compensation. That's a steep price. That's a very steep price. And if a team actually came through with an offer, say $8 million, $10 million, maybe even $12 million per year, the Cowboys would have to decide whether to match that offer or let him walk and pocket the second-round pick. Now I can already hear some of you screaming at your screens. You're saying there's no way you let Brandon Aubrey go. He's the best kicker in the league. You can't replace that kind of production. And I hear you. I really do. But let me present the other side of this argument because it deserves consideration. That second-round pick could be a starting safety that this defense desperately needs. It could be a starting linebacker. It could be a cornerstone piece that contributes for the next decade. The unknown of what that pick could become is tantalizing, especially for a team with as many defensive holes as Dallas currently has. There's also another factor that doesn't get talked about enough. Having a kicker as automatic as Aubrey might have actually hurt the Cowboys in some ways last season. There were times when the offense seemed content to settle for long field goal attempts instead of pushing harder to get into the end zone. When you know your kicker can hit from 60, maybe there's a subconscious tendency to take your foot off the gas a little earlier than you should. Maybe you play more conservative. Maybe you settle for 3 when you should be going for 7. That kind of mentality can become problematic, especially when your defense is struggling and needs every point you can get. The local Cowboys reporters are saying they believe Aubrey gets re-signed. They don't think there's any real tension between the team and his agency. The relationship appears solid, and most people expect a deal to get done eventually. Even if a long-term extension doesn't happen right away, the second-round tender puts him at about $5.77 million, which isn't that far off from what his cap hit would be on a multi-year deal anyway. We're talking a difference of maybe $1 million or $2 million. The Cowboys also have the franchise tag available next year if they need it as leverage. So while this story is generating a ton of buzz and speculation, the reality is that Brandon Aubrey is probably going to be kicking for the Dallas Cowboys for the foreseeable future. But man, what a fascinating debate this creates. If you had to choose right now, would you keep Brandon Aubrey or would you take a second-round pick and find a replacement? It's not as easy an answer as you might think, especially when you look at how much help this defense needs. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is going to be one of the most polarizing discussions in Cowboys circles all offseason. All right, now let's shift gears to the defensive side of the ball because there's a name circulating in trade rumors that should have every Cowboys fan paying attention. Jonathan Greenard, the edge rusher from the Minnesota Vikings, is reportedly available, and the connections to Dallas are impossible to ignore. Here's the situation. The Vikings essentially leaked to the media that they are open to trading Greenard. Now, whenever you hear a team say they want to keep a player, but they're open to moving him because of salary cap issues, you have to read between the lines. That's code for we're taking calls and we'll listen to offers. The Vikings are facing some financial constraints, and there are rumblings that the ownership group isn't interested in spending as aggressively as they did last year. They seem ready for a bit of a reset, a retooling, and Greenard could be a casualty of that approach. Let me give you the contract details, because they matter here. Greenard is owed $22.15 million on the cap this year. If the Vikings trade him, they save $12.25 million immediately. He's then owed $19 million in each of the following 2 seasons. So this isn't just a one-year rental. This is a player who would be under team control through 2027, which gives you multiple years to reap the benefits of adding a legitimate pass rusher. Now let's talk about why Greenard makes sense for Dallas specifically. First, his production. This man was excellent in 2023 and 2024. He can get after the quarterback. He brings juice off the edge. He creates pressure and disruption in ways that the Cowboys defense has been sorely lacking. Yes, he only had 3 sacks last year, but he also only played 12 games due to injury. When healthy, Jonathan Greenard is a problem for opposing offenses. Second, and this is huge, there's a direct connection to the Cowboys coaching staff. Marcus Dixon, who just came over from Minnesota to become the Cowboys' new defensive line coach, worked with Greenard in Minnesota. He knows this player. He knows his strengths, his weaknesses, how to maximize his potential. That kind of familiarity can accelerate the learning curve significantly and help a player hit the ground running in a new system. Third, the scheme fit is there. Greenard is versatile. He can play outside linebacker, he can rush the edge, he can do multiple things within a defensive structure. For a Cowboys defense that desperately needs help getting to the quarterback, adding a proven commodity like Greenard would be a major upgrade. But here's where things get complicated. The Vikings reportedly want a day 2 pick in return. That means a second or third round selection. And according to multiple sources, Greenard isn't just looking to be traded. He wants a market correction to his contract. He's due $19 million per year, and he wants a raise. So any team that acquires him wouldn't just be giving up draft capital. They'd also be on the hook for an extension that could push his salary even higher. That's a lot to ask for a team like Dallas that's still trying to create cap flexibility. You're giving up valuable draft picks that could help rebuild this defense through the draft, and you're committing major money to a player who will be north of 30 by the time his new contract expires. The risk-reward calculation gets tricky. If the price were lower, if Minnesota would accept a third-round pick and Greenard would play on his current contract, this would be a no-brainer. But at the reported asking price, with a new expensive extension required, that's a tougher pill to swallow. The Cowboys need edge help desperately, but they also need to be smart about how they allocate resources. This one feels like it's worth monitoring, but probably won't happen unless the Vikings come down significantly on their demands. Now let's get to the cornerback situation because this one involves some reporting that wasn't exactly accurate, and I want to set the record straight. Alontae Taylor, the cornerback from the New Orleans Saints, has been linked to the Dallas Cowboys in various reports circulating on social media. And yes, there are legitimate reasons why this connection makes sense, but the way it was presented isn't quite what happened. Here's what went down. A headline made the rounds claiming that the Cowboys were expected to pursue Alontae Taylor. The source cited was Albert Breer. But when you actually go back and read what Breer wrote, that's not what he said at all. Breer wrote that quarterback, and he obviously meant cornerback, looms as another need for Dallas, and he mentioned that Seattle's Tariq Woolen and New Orleans' Alontae Taylor are at the top of the market. That's it. He said the Cowboys need a corner, and these are the top guys available. He did not say they are going to pursue Taylor specifically. He did not say they are expected to sign him. That's two very different things, and somewhere along the way, a bad game of telephone turned a general observation into a definitive report. Now, does Alontae Taylor make sense for the Cowboys? Absolutely. He's a nickel corner, and Dallas desperately needs help in the slot. They got exposed there multiple times last season, and finding a reliable nickel defender has to be a priority. Taylor also has a connection to the coaching staff. He played under Derek Ansley at Tennessee, and Ansley is now with the Cowboys. That kind of familiarity can be valuable when evaluating fit and projecting how a player will perform in your system. So while the reporting was sloppy and overstated, the underlying logic is sound. The Cowboys do need cornerback help. Alontae Taylor is one of the best available options. There's a coaching connection that could give Dallas an edge in recruiting him. Don't be surprised if they do make a run at him once free agency opens. Just understand that as of right now, there's no concrete reporting that says it's definitely happening. Cowboys Nation, this offseason is shaping up to be one of the most consequential in recent memory. The front office is finally creating cap space. Names are being connected to Dallas that would genuinely improve this roster. The defense has holes, yes, but there are paths to filling them. The question now is whether Jerry Jones and company will actually pull the trigger on the moves necessary to make this team a legitimate contender again. We've seen too many off seasons where the Cowboys talked a big game and then did nothing. We've watched rival teams load up while Dallas stood pat. We've listened to the excuses about cap constraints and draft philosophy and trusting the process. Fans are tired of excuses. They want action. They want to see this team go get the players it needs to compete for a championship. The Brandon Aubrey situation, whether he stays or goes, tells us something about how this organization values elite special teams play. The Jonathan Greenard rumors tell us whether they're willing to be aggressive in addressing the pass rush. The cornerback market tells us whether they understand how badly this secondary needs reinforcement. Every decision this offseason is a statement about what this franchise is willing to do to win. So buckle up, Cowboys Nation. Free agency is about to explode, and we're going to be here covering every single move, every rumor, every signing, every trade. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss a thing. Drop a comment below telling me what move you want to see Dallas make first. Should they go all in on Brandon Aubrey? Should they swing a trade for Greenard? Should they chase Alontae Taylor in free agency? Your voice matters, and I want to hear from you. The wait is almost over. The moves are coming. And Cowboys Nation, this could finally be the offseason that changes everything. Stay locked in. We'll see you in the next one.